You're listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers.
When I first moved to Bozeman, Drew didn't know me or anything, and he just said, "I want to tell your story, whatever that is. I think you got a story." From what he had heard from his friends that were familiar with my career, he said, "I think you got a story to tell. Let's tell it." And I said, "I don't think I have a story to tell, but I do want to go skiing and shoot more skiing." So
yeah.
And COVID hit. We were supposed to finish the film in the spring of 2020. Well, we all know what happened spring of 2020. COVID came, everything shut down. We were sitting on a pretty good chunk of film. We had shot a lot, but I think Drew had a story, but I don't think he really quite knew what he was going to tell.
Like a framework.
Yeah, and then
did you guys spend a lot of time just chatting on the phone, getting to know each other, and
yeah, totally.
Trying for him to understand who you are and how that is going to fit within the framework, I guess.
Yeah, and I told him I've always wanted to just kind of I've always wanted to showcase kind of the highlights over the past 10, 15 years of shooting, and mostly shooting with Level 1 and a little bit with TGR. I've wanted to kind of just touch on that. And, as Drew and I got moving with the film, there's certain things that happened. My mom was diagnosed with ALS in October 2020. That was a huge hit to me and my family. And I didn't, it certainly had nothing to do with, Drew and I didn't even discuss including that in the film until I think April of this year. So, 8-9 months later, Drew approached me and said, "Hey, I think I'd like to include your mom in our film. Is that okay?" And I kind of was hesitant because I didn't want to
bring attention to it.
Yeah, no, I want to bring attention to ALS. I think that we are so far behind with it. I think ALS is just, it's where we were with AIDS in the 90s. There's no cure, no one, and it's
more than just dumping a bucket of water on your head.
I mean, we found a vaccine for COVID in less than a year. I think if we put the attention, if more people were getting ALS, we would have more attention being drawn to it, and we would probably have a cure for it by now. But it's a very rare disease. I think 1 in 100,000 people get it or something, or maybe more, 1 in 200,000. But it's very rare and unlikely, so it just doesn't get the attention. The cure or the treatment will probably come from stem cells. They're working on it. My mom's been in Mexico getting stem cells since the diagnosis. It's not really doing much at this point. In fact, my folks are back here in Montana. They've kind of stepped away from the stem cell thing. They're just gonna ride out life here in Montana together. So it's been incredibly hard to get the diagnosis and now be a year out and see all of the kind of the downhill that comes with the disease. It's just, tomorrow is never once the disease is, you're only your best in the moment, knowing that tomorrow is going to be just a little worse.
Yeah.
Next week is going to be a little worse. Next month, next 6 months, it's downhill every day. So it's an incredibly shitty disease. We decided to include a small, I told you, I agreed to include a small part of it in the film. We talk about it a little bit. We had an avalanche incident last winter as well. And I think Drew did a really nice job in tying in kind of the value of spending life in the mountains, the potential for death that we all face in life, in and out of the mountains, in what it means to live life to the fullest. And that was the story that Drew ended up landing on. And I think I'm really happy with the way the film turned out. It's a very meaningful piece for me. It's something I think that we can showcase outside of the ski industry, which was the plan all along, was to make something that was relatable to people that don't even ski that much, or have only skied a little bit.
It appeals to a broader audience.
Yeah.
Right? Just because it's the story, really, right? It's the story that really transcends genres.
Yeah, it's a documentary.
And it was cool to watch, man. Like, I'd heard you mentioned a little bit about what was going on with your mom, but it was nice to see how it was laid up and how that she was important in your development as a skier and her concern for you as you started to become a better skier. And some of the footage in there was really, really cool. So that was nice to see. And it's going to be nice. As you said, you're very aware of the disease and what it's going to be doing and how much time you have left, and you're very aware of that time is valuable.
Yeah.
And then, 5 years from now, you can look back on that movie and be like, wow, I'm glad that we did this.
Right.
Has your mom seen it, I'm sure?
Oh yeah. Many, many, many times. She's seen all the...
Did you watch it when you watched it with her for the first time? Was there some tears?
Oh, big time. Yeah, for sure. Big time.
Was that like a happy moment or what was that like? Do you want to share that? Like, I'm sure that was a pretty special moment, sad and happy and.
Well, she was honored to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Did she know?
Yeah, she did, and I told her. I also told her if she wasn't comfortable being in it, we would pull the whole thing. And she she's a big advocate of raising awareness for ALS. And we've had some other filmmakers approach us about doing a more ALS focused film, and they spent a week with my family in Mexico and documented some of the stem cell treatments that she was getting, and interviewed her when she could still talk. She can't talk anymore. So that's pretty special to have that on camera.
Just documenting, what you have left, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of another project I'll be working on this winter, is figuring out the finer details of that project, which is more ALS focused, whereas this film is more ski and kind of me focused, and then we touch on ALS. This next project, we're hoping to shine a brighter light on ALS, and then just have I'm just going to be a part of it.
You've been listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers. This has been a Redmark Media production.